Oh my God. She's so drunk.
Those who don't appreciate life do not deserve life.
Hello, and welcome to Cheers to Fears, where we take horror films and make them into drinking games. We are your two hosts. I'm Tucker.
And I'm Alex, and today we are past the halfway point into the Saw series with Saw 5, directed by David Hackl. David Hackl is very unproven, and this would continue to be the case, as he did not end up coming back to direct the sixth entry of the Saw franchise. In Saw 5, we witness Detective Hoffman awarded a promotion after the death of Jigsaw. He's not in the clear, however, considering Special Agent Strom is suspicious of him.
Strom investigates reasons on why Hoffman would be linked to the Jigsaw crimes, and he finds exactly what he's looking for. This leads to another game where they all want to make it to the end, but Jigsaw has more in mind than just that.
There will be spoilers from this point on, so as always, if you have not watched the movie and spoilers are an issue for you, pause the video, grab a beer, and watch the movie with our drinking rules posted on screen now. If spoilers are not an issue for you, then let's begin.
Onto the drinking rules we use for every horror movie, starting with death. Whenever you see a death on screen, take a drink. We counted 10 deaths on screen and in flashbacks in this movie.
Next, we have a rule that gave us 20 drinks. That rule is whenever you hear somebody scream, cry, or yell, you take a sip of your beverage of choice.
Moving on to our Saw-specific rules, starting with whenever you see a Billy doll. If one is seen, you follow that up with a drink. 7 Billies were seen in this movie.
The fourth rule we have in the movie is whenever anybody says game or jigsaw.
Game! Jigsaw's.
This rule gave us 28 drinks, because game was said 11 times in the movie, and jigsaw was said 17 times.
Just like our previous Saw episodes, flashback is the next rule. We counted a total of 8 in this film, so we needed to take 8 sips.
Whenever there is a new Saw movie, there will always be new traps. In this movie, we counted a total of 9 new traps.
Drinking when a tape is played is our next rule.
Hello, Agent Strom.
For this, we tallied a total of 7 tapes, and therefore was the number of drinks we took for this rule.
For the fifth Saw movie, we only counted a total of 6 Saws. This required us to drink 6 times, as we must drink for every Saw that we see on screen.
Continuing on with the list of drinking rules for the Saw franchise, is you need to drink for every instance of jumpy or flashy editing that appears on screen. This rule accounted for 9 more drinks.
We now move on to the drinking rules exclusive for Saw 5, starting with one that we could have had throughout the whole franchise, that being drinking whenever you see a pig mask. Throughout the movie, we counted a total of 5 pig masks, so we took 5 drinks.
The last Saw 5 exclusive rule is drinking whenever detective is said.
Detective Hoffman. Detective?
Again, this could have been a rule for the entire franchise, but we felt it was more appropriate to add it into this movie specifically. For adding this rule into Saw 5, we were rewarded with 18 extra drinks.
That concludes all the rules for Saw 5. Added together, we had a total of 127 drinks, which is the equivalent of drinking just over 4 standard 12-ounce cans. That number is based on a 30 sip per can scale, and as far as the other Saw movies go, this one wasn't the worst in terms of drinking back-to-back drinks. Care to explain, Tucker?
Yeah, so I guess in this movie there were not a lot of Billy dolls shown, not a lot of flashy editing, and saying game before the trap. Those are spread out through the movie more, and it kind of made the movie feel a lot better in terms of pacing for drinking.
As far as the main trap goes, there wasn't really a lot of drinks, because whenever there was a mini trap kind of inside that, like the chamber one will say, there wasn't a Billy doll, there wasn't a lot of flashy jumpy editing, so there was not a lot of drinks in terms of that, which those drinks basically came from being spread out throughout the movie.
So speaking of Billy doll, this is actually the first film in the Saw franchise where Billy doll doesn't appear in real time. He only appears in flashbacks.
Okay.
That's something I learned when looking up this movie.
And yeah, it really played a part in, especially with our drinking rules, because it was really spread out.
So obviously there was still some screaming, new traps, and deaths and all of that.
Yeah.
But most of it was spread out with saying detective, game, and jigsaw, which accounted for 48 of our total drinks.
Yeah, so like over at least over a third of our drinks were that. Yeah, as you can see, there was a lot of trigger words for drinks, and with the new exception of saying detective, I feel like that really added on to that. That made it just so much more spread out throughout the movie, which was a very nice break from Saw movies, where it was just basically 9 back-to-back drinks in a few minutes.
On the topic of detective, let's talk about Detective Hoffman.
Yeah.
Do you think he lived up to Jigsaw's name?
I feel like he kind of starts to, especially we can see signs of it, such as how cunning he becomes with traps such as the glass coffin,
Right.
where he does trick Detective Strom into going in there, saving himself, killing him, making it so he gets rid of his biggest rival that could potentially ruin his name or make people figure out who he is.
So yeah, I really liked the glass coffin trap that Hoffman was involved in.
Yeah.
A couple other traps that Hoffman was involved in was, of course, the shotgun chair. That one was pretty simple. Then there was the pendulum trap, which I thought was pretty cool.
It's weird to think how that was Hoffman's first trap, yet it was probably, I think, the best one in the movie, in my opinion anyways.
Yeah, it kind of goes against Jigsaw's philosophy because it technically wasn't escapable, but it was a cool trap nonetheless.
Oh, 100%. Continuing on with traps, we have to talk about the Fatal Five. This, of course, referring to the main test of the movie, the one with the 5 people, where they were all involved in burning down a building, that there were people inside and those people died, and they weren't ever held accountable for their actions.
Right.
So I have to talk about one guy specifically, and it's the guy that was really whiny throughout the movie. He reminded me of just a garbage Edward Norton. It's like if Edward Norton got hit on the head and just forgot how to act. It's like he had amnesia, but the only thing he forgot was just how to act.
Yeah.
So I guess the other traps that they were all in, there was a necktie trap. I don't think a lot of people would have gathered that all the keys would have fit. I feel like that one's kind of just shoved off to the side for the most part. Like, that's easily dismissible, I'd say.
Yeah.
Just because there is 5 keys doesn't necessarily mean they all work. It's a high tense situation. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, there could have been just one person to go forward and break all the keys out and then get them forward. You can see that when it was just 2 people fighting at the end, the garbage Edward Norton and the one girl. One person could have easily reached probably 2-3 keys easily, and then just gave them to everyone else.
So in saying that, it kind of leads us to the twist of the movie, which was they all had to work together.
Yeah.
I feel like there was enough hints throughout that main test
Oh yeah.
to lead to that twist. So it wasn't that shocking when you heard it, but at the same time it was kind of satisfying to hear.
Yeah, which moves on to the next trap, is the sealing jars trap, and this is probably where people start to figure out, like, I'm pretty sure more than one person could have fit in one of those chambers. Like, it shouldn't have been just like one person trying to squish away in just a very, very big place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They could have easily fit. That's where it kind of stood out to me, was they could have easily all fit into the tunnels. Or
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
And then the electric bathtub, of course, we learned that they all should have held one wire rather than one person holding all the wires.
And they all would have received one tiny shock in comparison to one person having to die.
Yeah.
You can kind of see that there was 5 hooks. To be fair, we really didn't make that out, but obviously in the last one, the 10 pints of sacrifice, we could make that out because obviously there would be no other good reason to have 5 saw blades.
Yeah, exactly. And
Which, by the ways, was 5 of our 6 saw blades in the movie, I must add. The other one was a title card. There was not a lot of saws in this movie.
No, there wasn't. Going back to the beginning of the movie, just for the last trap we need to talk about, the water cube trap with Agent Strom. I kind of liked how he improvised to get out of the trap by performing the tracheotomy on himself.
Yeah, he was basically left for dead for the most part. I'm surprised that he got out, and that's kind of the moral of the story, is you have to hurt yourself to kind of move through.
So with Hoffman being the new Jigsaw, it kind of led to Strom and Hoffman's rivalry.
Yeah, I actually really liked the rivalry for the most part, but I feel like it was kind of one-sided because at sometimes Strom was really smart, really clever in figuring things out, and other times he was just dumb as a brick.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, he was able to find out clues that were missed by the police force, but then he went back in without backup and died.
That's 2 movies back-to-back, by the way, where that happened. He ran it the first time, almost died in the water trap, got reprimanded, then did it a second time and died. So he just didn't learn his lesson. Speaking about him getting reprimanded, this is the first time an officer did something wrong and actually got reprimanded for their actions.
Right, yeah.
So screaming at Jill Tuck, doing all these miraculous things that would probably get a normal cop fired. Mainly with Jill Tuck, I'd say, but going in alone, not following protocol, he did get reprimanded for it and did get taken off the Jigsaw case, which led him to kind of investigate into it more, and then leading him to gather more evidence to say that Hoffman was indeed Jigsaw.
Back to the other side of the rivalry with Hoffman, he kind of had a better teacher with John, where he learned that if you're good at anticipating the human mind, nothing's left to chance. For example, with Strom, about how he would end up in the glass coffin and kind of get away free, where Strom would eventually die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he definitely learned a lot from John, and I feel like that kind of was just an advantage that he had over Strom.
Which is why clearly Hoffman was a better disciple than Amanda.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he could actually read into people and actually kind of learn some things that John is saying, not just like everything kind of skipping over her head a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyways, overall about the movie, I feel like there was some things that were just lacking a little bit.
Yeah.
So my favorite parts of the movie was actually when it was just Strom like trying to figure out all about Hoffman. I really liked those parts where he was just trying to go back to the crime scenes and kind of investigate with that. I loved those parts of the movie so much more than the actual main trap, which was the Fatal Five.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just because there was no connection or anything, but I loved that part so much more. Which again goes in that I did not like the Fatal Five trap all that much, just because I'm not sure if it was the characters, the traps, but something was lacking, and therefore this was honestly one of my least favorite Saw movies, and it might be because of the main trap.
Yeah, and just kind of adding on to Hoffman and Strom's rivalry, it really should have been Matthews that replaced, or that would have been in place of Strom, because Matthews is a hothead just like Strom. He's running it without protection, taking things into his own hands, intimidating Jill Tuck, all of the characteristics of Agent Strom. Agent Matthews also had.
Yeah, exactly. It just would have been such a perfect fit, especially growing with this character from Saw 1 through 5, just to see how he develops, kind of. But instead, they just decided to write in Strom in the script for some reason.
Yeah, and like, just because of Strom being introduced in such a quick and abrupt way, we don't care about him as much as Agent Matthews.
Oh, of course, yeah. And finally, we come to the awards ceremony, where we award one not-so-lucky nominee the Darwin Award. This award goes out to the character who made a stupid decision that resulted in them getting killed, someone else getting killed, or simply resulting in something bad happening that could have been easily avoided. This award can also go to somebody who is just plain dumb. Here are the nominees.
First, there's everybody in the Fatal Five trials. If only they worked together. It was easy to assume that people could survive if they worked together, or if they sat down and thought for just a second. Almost everybody knows how easy it was to survive the ceiling jars trap, because it was pretty clear that more than one person could fit in those chambers.
Next, we have Special Agent Strom for making terrible decisions that would get a typical officer reprimanded by his superiors, and then continue to do the exact same actions, which then again led him to dying in a glass coffin trap.
And the winner is Detective Strom. Surprisingly, there were not that many options in this movie, but that is to be expected when Jeff is not around. It was a pretty big toss-up, but in the end, we felt like we had to go with Agent Strom.
And with all that being said, we hope you enjoyed our look into Saw 5. If you ended up playing the game alongside the movie, or if you have any feedback or suggestions, let us know in the comments below. We also want to know, which trap do you think was the most iconic in this movie?
Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss tomorrow's episode, where we get one step closer to finishing the Saw franchise with the 6th installment. Thanks for tuning in, and this is us saying, cheers to fears.